thanks everybody for joining. Appreciate you spending a little time with us here, and I hope everybody's having a great week. I'll be very short. I'm not going to take a lot of time, because I know you don't want to hear me speak. You want to see the technology and hear about the technology. So I'll be very, very quick. But I want to make sure you know a little bit about ITS partners. We're a ServiceNow partner. We're both a consulting and resale partner. We're a newer partner. We've been a partner with them just this year in 2013 for about 5 months. And this is our first webinar we're doing with them. So you're actually on the first ITS ServiceNow webinar. So we're very excited. I got to tell you, I'm very excited about this technology. I got a chance to see it a couple years ago, and it's matured a lot since then. Not that it was bad then, but it's just every year it gets better and better. And about a year ago, we took a look at it and decided, you know what, we need to become a partner, and we made that happen this year. And we're getting a lot of activity, a lot of interest from our customers. And some of you have probably seen ServiceNow, have heard of it. It's very interesting as you're out there in the technology world and you're talking about platforms for IT, you're talking about ITSM and ITAM. This is the real buzzword right now, ServiceNow. This is what people are talking about. And I think one of the things they have going for them beyond their just unbelievable technology and great leadership and great people is they're in the cloud, and they leverage the cloud better than almost any organization I've ever seen. So again, I've used the word exciting a couple times, but I'll say it again. It's very exciting technology. We're excited to show it to you. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Michael and Alex to do the presentation. They're with ServiceNow, and they're good friends and some people we've been working with for the last couple months. And they know this technology better than anybody else. So instead of having someone from ITS do an okay presentation, we figured we'd get the experts on to do an awesome presentation. So at this point, Michael, I'm going to hand it off to you. Thank you again for joining, and we'll look forward to seeing your presentation here.
My name is Michael Dorch, and I want to thank you all for joining us today and taking time out of your busy day to take a few minutes to learn a bit about ServiceNow. You know, people talk about IT service management and help desk and service desk, and I know that those are all big issues for a lot of you folks, but we find, and this isn't me saying this, this is me having spent the past year and a month and some change since I've been at ServiceNow, and most of the past 35 years before then talking to customers. I was an industry analyst for most of the past 3.5 decades, which is like 60 or 70 years in human terms when you think about it, which is something I try not to do. But, you know, IT wants to do better, and we like to think that ServiceNow exists to help IT do better. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as I move through these slides. I'm going to give you a brief introduction to ServiceNow and then turn it over to my colleague Alex Ramos, who will show you a demonstration and sort of put some wood behind the arrowhead, as the business folks like to say. A bit about the company. We refer to ourselves as the Enterprise IT Cloud Company. Now, you know, there are a lot of cloud technologies out there. There are a lot of cloud solutions out there. There are consumer cloud solutions like Google Mail and Yahoo and those types of things. And there are some business-oriented cloud solutions. There are, you know, like Salesforce.com for marketing and Workday for HR. But we focus on IT. A lot of those other solutions, it turns out they get sold around the IT department, which doesn't make IT very happy, and it doesn't empower IT to support those solutions fully. We focus on the IT team. Our CEO, Frank Slootman, likes to say that IT is our home, and the IT people are our homies. So that's how we refer to it. And we sell to IT, for IT, and through IT. And what that means is IT buys us to solve specific problems or to address specific opportunities, and then they expand the value of that within IT and then throughout the organization through custom applications and other things that I'll talk a little bit about as we go forward here. A brief bit about our momentum. You know, all you need to worry about in this slide is the arrowhead is pointing upward and to the right. We have doubled in size and doubled in revenue just about every year for the past few years. I keep threatening to replace that static number of enterprise customers and employees with a Java-based counter because the number goes up even as I speak. As I said, I joined the company a little over a year ago. February, we were about 700 people. We're about 1,400 now. And the interesting thing here is we have 1,600 plus enterprise customers. And a number of those companies are some of the oldest, largest, best-known brands you've heard of, and we are one of the smallest vendors they deal with, but they tell us we are critical to their operations. You know, it turns out that if your CRM solution, if your marketing solution fails, well, you know, your marketing and salespeople can go back to using the phone and pen and paper and those things that some of you may remember and some of you may have to Google to find out what I'm talking about. And if ERP fails, you know, the financial people can go back to using spreadsheets and actually talking to other people. If IT goes down in most enterprises, the company comes to a screeching halt. So IT is pretty critical. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. It almost doesn't matter what size you are. Your business is increasingly reliant upon its IT infrastructure. And we exist to keep that infrastructure going and to make it run better and to help the people who run it serve the business better. And this is sort of a visual impression of how a lot of people see IT. It's sort of like the DMV, but less friendly. And you know, IT doesn't like this any better than any of you folks who are not in IT do. But this is the reality. IT is basically known as the Department of No. Every time anybody asks IT for anything, IT has to tell them no because they don't have the resources, they don't have the time, they don't have the money, they're busy doing other things. But you know, as I said, I've spent a lot of the past 35 years talking to IT people. And you know, they want to do good jobs. They want to help the company run better. They want to get that personal satisfaction you get out of doing stuff well. They don't want to be the Department of No. What they want to be is the Department of Now. They want to help the enterprise to run better. And they want to make IT run better so that the enterprise can run better. It turns out there are a number of things standing in the way of that happening. The biggest thing standing in IT's way, I'm about to show it to you, get ready, it's this guy. It's the moose in a suit. It's the, you know, Forrester Research came up with the acronym MOOSE a while ago. It's to maintain and operate the organization, systems, and equipment that make up IT. It turns out that depending on who you ask and when, IT is spending 60 cents, 70 cents, sometimes 80 cents or more of every budget dollar just keeping the lights on, just making what they have work with what they have. Against that backdrop, innovation is almost impossible. Good customer service, good customer care is almost impossible. IT is almost forced into this position of being reactive, break-fix custodians of an aging, out-of-date infrastructure. And you know, I'm sorry, but that can't sustain. That just can't sustain. You can't innovate. You can't become more agile. You can't deliver the benefits the enterprise wants when you're stuck in that situation. And please note the disclaimer, any resemblance between this picture and any CIO you may know is purely coincidental. Moving on, to get past this problem, as Fred Luddy, our Chief Product Officer, the guy that wrote the first code that became ServiceNow, our founder, who's still with the company and writes code every day, he said, it is not possible to solve today's challenges with yesterday's technology. And most of today's premise-based solutions for IT service management are basically yesterday's technology. And you know, it's not just us saying this. If you look at this quote from Rainer Zinnow of SAP, SAP tried multiple times. You know, SAP is an incredibly reputable company. If you ask anybody who's the leading ERP vendor, who's the leading enterprise financial vendor, it's almost a Pavlovian response. You will hear SAP mentioned most of the time. And you know, when SAP recognized that the cloud was where they needed to be, they tried to take their premise-based code, which is very worthy and very solid and all of that, and move it into the cloud, and they failed. And as it says here, they realized they could not take a single line of source code from their existing applications into the cloud. They had to design native applications for the cloud. Well, that is basically what ServiceNow is. It is designed from scratch to live in the cloud and to run in the cloud and to deliver the benefits of being in the cloud that premise-based solutions simply cannot match. There are three primary areas we focus on. We talk about evolving IT from the Department of No to the Department of Now. The first one, the first pain point that a lot of our customers encounter is the need to consolidate. I don't care who you are. You can go to your IT department and say, what's our primary IT service management tool? And they may tell you product X. I don't care which it is. if you walk around the enterprise or talk to people around the enterprise, you will probably find multiple versions of product X running in different places. And the problem with that is version 5 may not have all the same features as version 6, may not be fully interoperable with version 4, may not be forward compatible with version 7, etc., etc. So IT faces a problem that even if they think they are running a homogeneous environment, it turns out they are running multiple versions of the same solution. Sometimes they're running different solutions entirely in different departments. I've talked to enterprises recently where they have multiple quote-unquote help desks across the enterprise. And you know, that way lies chaos. ERP provides a single pane of glass that lets the people who run the financial side of the company know what to focus on and know what they're supposed to be looking at. CRM solutions provide that single pane of glass for the sales and marketing people. If you look at the right-hand side of this slide, you can see IT, not so much. They have not had that level of consolidation. And so you get fragmentation, you get redundancy, you get opacity where you need transparency and consistency and the ability to know what the heck is going on in that infrastructure. You know, Donald Rumsfeld used to talk about known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns. Well, IT has been living surrounded by unknown unknowns for too long. And one of the first things people do with ServiceNow is they consolidate and they globalize and standardize on ServiceNow, and that eliminates a lot of that redundancy. So that's one of the first legs of the ServiceNow value proposition. Another one that helps to evolve IT from the Department of No to the Department of Now is something we call consumerization. You might think of it as self-service on steroids. I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember before banks had ATMs, but you had to go stand in line at the bank, whether all you wanted to do was cash a check or you wanted to do something more complex like apply for a loan. And that meant the person in front of you could be cashing a check or applying for a loan. And now with the ATM, you are empowered to do your basic transactions on your own without having to wait in line, without having to wait to talk to somebody, etc., etc. But it's also good for the bank because the people who work inside the bank get to focus on higher value, more complex transactions. Self-service does that same type of thing for IT. Imagine if instead of you having to track down an IT person to report a problem, you could just get onto a portal and say, I need this, or this is broken. That's good for you as a user, but it's also great for IT because all of the problem reporting is centralized and all of it is documented. You don't have to wade through miles and miles of email threads or find phone messages. You don't have to do any of that. So it's good for IT and it's good for the business. And in addition, when you put the right infrastructure into place, the people who are having the problems get to share knowledge about solving the problems with other people who are having the problems and solving the problems. If you have like a chat function or a Facebook-like function, we call it live feed. We have it, it's built in. That means that users, before they even contact IT, they can put up a question that says, hey, has anybody seen this anomaly before? Does anybody have this thing that I need to do? Or has anybody seen this happen before? And as often as not, you'll get an answer before you can even remember how to reach IT. So what that does is it lets you consolidate knowledge as well as to consumerize, to implement self-service around IT itself. And those types of features empower users and free up IT to focus on more challenging, higher value business problems. So that's a second leg of the evolution of IT. And the third leg is automation. You know, we all love our coworkers, but they're human. And anytime humans are involved in a process, error is possible. When you have to repeat a process and you want to repeat it in a consistent way, especially if you want to scale that process and you want to repeat it in ways that remove manual errors and decrease costs and improve performance, automation is the way to go. And this is one of the more interesting stages of evolution of IT amongst our customers, because once they get their fragmented infrastructure more consolidated, and once they put up a service catalog and a self-service portal and they consumerize access to IT, behind the scenes, they look for opportunities to automate key processes that need to get repeated over and over again. Things like rebooting servers, provisioning virtual machines in a virtual environment. But look at this list of points here. Onboarding and offboarding employees. Well, you know, that's not really an IT function, but it's highly dependent upon IT at most companies. And it turns out that a lot of our clients, what happens is IT rolls out ServiceNow for IT service management, and HR will see what they've done, and they'll say, wait, you know, if we could modify the names of some of these fields, you know, this incident problem change stuff that you guys are doing, it looks an awful lot like what we do when we onboard or offboard an employee. Why don't we see if we can't use the same foundational technologies in ServiceNow to do that? Or if the incident problem change, well, a lot of that looks a lot like what we have to go through when we take requests to provision virtual machines. We want to manage those virtual machines across their life cycle. Why don't we see if we can't use the same automation tools to do that? And we're finding that our customers are driving ServiceNow into areas, not only areas within IT, but areas beyond IT across the enterprise. And that's how you get from to IT to for IT to through IT, as I mentioned earlier on. So why does IT buy ServiceNow? Well, as I mentioned, they usually start out to solve some problem or to address some opportunity, which is usually why anybody buys anything if you think about it. But ServiceNow, the core of ServiceNow is this set of operational applications. You've heard these terms before, you've seen them before: incident problem change management, release management, software development lifecycle management for when IT does get a chance to build something for the enterprise. And there's service catalog and requests. You get to create that self-service portal that lets people order the things they want or request the things that they need from an automated self-service entity without having to actually track people down by phone or by email. So these are sort of the core operational applications that a lot of IT people buy ServiceNow for. But if you think about it and you look at sort of what's underneath, well, there's a common configuration management database that stores information about what's out there in the infrastructure. And there's a discovery module that helps you find those things. And there's an asset management module that helps you manage those things across their life cycle. And there's an orchestration module that helps you automate processes within and beyond ServiceNow and integrate with other applications. So we call those our infrastructure applications. Those are sort of the things that are operating behind the scenes that drive incident problem change and these other operational applications. And on top of those, we have management applications like project management, IT governance, risk and compliance. That's what GRC stands for, cost management. I like to say that those applications help translate what IT does into language the CFO and the other people who sign checks and purchase orders can understand. So IT gets to translate what it is doing into meaningful business value easily and consistently and in ways that the rest of the enterprise can understand and appreciate. And the core value proposition here and why IT loves ServiceNow perhaps more than any other reason, all of these modules run atop a single cloud-based native platform that incorporates all of the features you're seeing down at the bottom of this slide. It's a single architecture. It's a single source of truth. It incorporates social IT features like live feed and chat. It incorporates basic reporting. It incorporates a content management system so that you can make the interface look however you need it to look. There's knowledge management. There's service level management. There's mobile support. If you want to mobile enable your IT department so they don't have to be sitting in their office or drive to work every time something breaks, that you don't have to write that in. You just add it on. The ability to support mobile devices is built in. So these and other features are built into the core platform upon which all of these modules run. And because it's native and cloud-based, and it's based on proven web-based technologies, almost anything with an internet connection and a browser can access ServiceNow applications. And I want to point out here that platform that supports all of those modules I've just described to you, when customers build their own applications or engage partners to build applications for them, they run on top of the same platform. and they have access to all of those same features. So that's one of the ways that ServiceNow's value is expanding across multiple enterprises, because they build applications that do other stuff atop the ServiceNow platform. And in fact, if you talk to our largest and most sophisticated customers, more than half of them bought ServiceNow not because of its ITSM strength and maturity, not because of the cost advantages of operating in the cloud, but because, as Brian from Cardinal Health says on this slide, they saw the opportunity to create an ERP for IT, that single pane of glass through which you can see everything that matters to IT. And they realized that our platform is extensible and configurable. And it turns out more than 50% of our largest customers selected ServiceNow for that reason. More than 60% of them are already running at least one custom application that they built or had built themselves on top of that platform. And I want to tell you, those custom applications run the gamut. Everything from employee onboarding, offboarding, to facilities management, all kinds of things. You can go to the ServiceNow website and see examples of what some of our customers are doing. But that is sort of how we extend the value of ServiceNow into shared services and line of business applications that deliver the same value and strength that ServiceNow does for IT to the rest of the enterprise. And as I mentioned before, when you talk to technical people at our customers, and you talk to the people who actually have their hands on the screwdrivers, who go inside the server cabinets when they still have servers, all of those things, you know, if you look at some of the other cloud-based solutions out there, you find that they are cobbled together from multiple other technologies, some developed internally, some acquired externally. And you know, you can't really integrate all of those things and have them perform seamlessly in a consistent way without much heavy lifting and gnashing of teeth. The ServiceNow architecture is built on one model. It uses one web services interface. It uses a single data store. There's a single configuration management database driving everything. There's one set of technologies. There's one architecture. And it delivers that single system of record that a lot of IT people have frankly never had before, because it was designed to do that from scratch. It's not cobbled together from a bunch of acquired technologies. It's built from scratch to deliver that level of consistency. And you know, if I say it, you know, sure, of course, I work for the company. You expect me to say these things. But especially for a young company in a field that is still perceived by many people as being not as proven as the premise-based space, when you look at what the analysts say about us on this slide and you look at some of the reports that they put out, you realize enterprises are adopting ServiceNow because they are realizing the benefits I am describing. And they are realizing those benefits from a native cloud-based solution. And the growth that we are seeing, both in our adoption and as a company, would only be possible. They're only possible because of the architecture we're built upon and because we are a native cloud-based solution that removes a lot of that moose problem from a lot of the enterprises that use us on a daily basis. And you know, there's no better proof point than customers. So REI, recreational equipment, you've probably heard of them. There may be one of their stores near you even as we speak. They have over 10,000 employees in 110 stores. They were one of those companies that had multiple legacy IT service management tools. And upgrades were coming. They were expensive. They'd done lots of customization. There was no easy way to upgrade in a way that maintained those customizations they needed. They moved to ServiceNow. Not only did they consolidate all of those diverse ITSM tools they were using before, they built one of those service catalogs so that users could make requests and people could order things they needed in an easy, consistent way. And they used the same platform to build a custom time tracking application for their IT people. And they mobile enabled their application so that their IT people could do their work from wherever they happened to be. And they got all of those benefits simply by deploying ServiceNow and learning some things about the platform and experimenting with it. And in REI's own words, the biggest benefit they've seen so far is they were able to lower costs by consolidating their tools across IT. And the cool thing is, they found that because of that underlying platform and all of those out-of-the-box integrations that it supports, Integrating with other applications was so easy, they've been able to discontinue several processes that they were conducting manually before. So you get consolidation, you get consumerization, and you get automation, all sort of at the same time in the same enterprise. And the people making the decisions at the enterprise see the benefits. I mean, that's why we just had our annual user conference. We call it Knowledge. This one was Knowledge 13. It was held in Las Vegas. We had 4,000 people. We had hundreds of sessions. Most of those sessions are customers speaking to other customers about what they're doing with ServiceNow and the successes they've seen. And REI was one of the featured speakers at that conference. Here's one of my other favorite proof points. You may have heard of CERN because of that giant collider thing they have, but you know, CERN is basically a small city outside of Geneva. They host more than 10,000 visiting scientists every year. Tim Berners-Lee was taking some time off and doing some work at CERN when he invented the World Wide Web. So it's a pretty important place, and it's basically a small city. CERN had this disparate, fragmented IT service management infrastructure. And they looked at ServiceNow, and they consolidated, and they implemented some self-service, and they automated some processes. And then they started building upon it. And now, from a single portal, you can access more than 650 services, ranging from ordering emergency medical care, to ordering a taxi, to reserving a hotel room, to reporting incident or problem or change requirements to IT, for more than 10,000 visiting scientists and 2,400 local staff, all through a single portal, all running on ServiceNow. And CERN did most of this on their own with the help of a couple of partners. So these are some of the examples of what people are doing with ServiceNow, and these are just some of the companies that are using ServiceNow every day for IT service management, for IT service automation, to help evolve their IT departments from the Department of No to the Department of Now, and to deliver new custom applications to other areas of the business in ways that are modern and agile and mobile and social, and that have all of those features that users want and that businesses need to deliver. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people in the IT department and outside the IT department amongst our customers say this: I go home every day and I use Amazon, and I go home every day and I use Google, and I use all these cloud-based services, and they're easy to use and they're flexible and I can access them on my phone and my tablet, and I go back to work and it's like I'm back in the 1980s all over again. Why is that? Well, we don't think there's a good answer to that question, or actually we think there's a great answer to that question. We think ServiceNow is that answer. And I want to talk a little bit about the infrastructure. You know, we have a worldwide network of mirrored data centers. We have data centers in Europe and Switzerland and Australia. And, you know, we have 2 down in the southeast United States just for our friends at the federal government because that was their requirement. If you do business internationally, you know that there are a lot of companies in other countries that say, we love your solution, but our data has to stay within our borders, and if you talk to some other cloud-based providers, they have to sort of slink slowly away because they don't have any data centers over there. We got them. And our cloud-based infrastructure, the people building and managing our cloud-based infrastructure used to work on projects like Microsoft Azure and Zynga's cloud-based infrastructure. They know a little bit about this stuff. And we have white papers describing all of these things if you want to read them, or you've got technical people that want to be reassured about the reliability of our infrastructure. I will tell you this, though. Our CEO says that one of the challenges when you have clients like the New York Stock Exchange and General Electric and Johnson & Johnson and companies like that is that their IT infrastructure just plain cannot break. and when they do, our CEO is on their speed dial. So he's trying to minimize the number of phone calls he gets from those people, and the infrastructure we build and maintain is designed to do precisely that. It has disaster recovery features built in. It has high availability features built in. I could go on for another half hour about that, but I know most of you are not having any problems sleeping, so I'll skip that part for now. And we not only have a world-class technology infrastructure, we have a world-class business infrastructure. We have a professional services department. We have worthy partners like ITS, people who are qualified to deliver the level of professional services and support and training and certification you need to get the best possible value out of ServiceNow. I will tell you, though, We've had numbers of clients separately come to the conclusion. I've actually seen a client do this when they're talking about ServiceNow to their colleagues, and their colleagues say, well, what about training? I've actually seen clients hold up an iPhone and say, did you need training for this? And they go, well, no, we didn't. He said, well, ServiceNow is about at that level. Now, I'm not going to say that ServiceNow is as easy to use as an iPhone, but some people do say that. But we do offer training, and our partners do offer training, and they do offer professional services, all of which are designed to help you maximize the business value of your investment in ServiceNow. And as I said before, I want to make one more analogy as I'm wrapping up here because, that's what old people do. We just tell stories and make analogies. Anyway, I remember when the Macintosh first came out, and everybody said, well, they've got this paper white bitmap display, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't Apple that invented the first giant market for the Macintosh. It was Apple customers who invented the term desktop publishing, who realized that if I can do on a screen the stuff I used to do on paper, that I need an X-Acto knife and tape and glue and whiteout for, if I can eliminate all that, I can do all kinds of things I couldn't do before. The growth of the Macintosh was driven by Macintosh customers. The growth of ServiceNow is being driven by our customers' successes and the innovation that our customers are developing on a daily basis. And they're doing so on this platform that is consistent, it's built on proven standards. ITIL, the IT infrastructure library recommendations are woven into the infrastructure of ServiceNow. We help companies implement ITIL more consistently, and we lead the market for a cloud-based, SaaS-based ITSM. So that level of leadership, it gives you a strong advantage. We're not going anywhere. We're growing well. We're doing fine, as a company, and we are committed to this marketplace because we helped to start this part of the marketplace, and we're not leaving it. We're having too much fun. So we like to say that we help you begin your IT transformation today. We are going to help you transform your IT department and get to the end of no and the beginning of now. And that's basically all I have to say. So I'm going to make Alex Ramos a presenter right now. I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to me blather on. And if you think I sound excited, it's because I am. I've been in this industry a long time, and I've not seen any set of opportunities that was as great as this one, which is why I'm here and why I'm hoping you'll join our cadre of happy customers. But if you're still not convinced, you want to see this demo. Alex, you're up.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Chad, and thank you, Wade. Again, my name is Alex Ramos, and I'm a solution consultant with ServiceNow. So I'm going to be spending just a very short amount of time here relative to the amount of information we could cover to talk about ServiceNow. And as you could feel with Michael's presentation, we're both just very, very excited about the technology, about the opportunity that our customers have in front of them with the ServiceNow technology. I'm going to give you kind of a high level, let's say, skimming across the water of this vast ocean of technology and opportunity that is ServiceNow. We could talk at a great deal about really any of the areas that ServiceNow provides, but today I'm going to give you some of the highlights, and I'm going to frame up the conversation really in the three areas that Michael mentioned, these three areas of transformation, or as our CEO has said, three vectors of transformation that our customers are experiencing. And if you recall, those are consolidation, self-service, and automation. So we'll talk about how we think about each one of those and show you just a little bit of the technology so you get a handle on how we see it from our perspective. You're looking at ServiceNow. This is what we might call the IT view or the IT portal, the IT view into the technology. On the left-hand side, you can see a menu, which is essentially all the capabilities or applications built on the ServiceNow platform. These are, as Michael mentioned, these are really aligned to ITIL. So we used ITIL as a blueprint, and since then really expanded on beyond some of the core operational areas to incorporate lots of other capabilities that our customers were asking for. So for instance, you can see applications like incident management, problem management, change management, release management, configuration management, which is the application to manage our integrated configuration management database. you see an application for the knowledge base or knowledge management system that's integrated to the ServiceNow platform. You can also see some applications that are certainly related to IT, maybe not as specifically called out in ITIL, but things like asset management and project management and financial management. These are applications that we've built on our platform because our customers have demanded them. And we've seen some very, very exciting use of this sort of ancillary technology within IT departments to provide additional value to those departments and to the enterprise at large. All of these applications are built on the single system of record, this consolidated piece of technology. It is, in effect, an actual single database where all this information lives. So it's not just integrated, it's organically grown from a single repository of information. And what that lets me do is, as you can see in the center in this dashboard, is to get a holistic view on everything that IT is managing, all of the infrastructure, all the assets, all the projects, all the budgets, as well as everything that IT is doing. So all the things, all the tasks, if you will, that IT is scheduling and putting time against. And bring all that together for IT leadership so that they have visibility into data in a very consolidated way. In this view, you can see an IT dashboard that has projects and budgets and availability of key applications. There's some information about contracts that are expiring and locations of incidents in the environment. Each one of these dashboards pulls together information from this repository, from this single system of record, and displays it in a way that's relevant to the individual that's consuming the data. So for instance, this homepage is really targeted at the service desk. And so we're pulling together information about current outages or workarounds. You can see I've got some consolidated work queues for myself and for my group. And if I expand this out, you'll get an idea of just how much different kinds of information, how many different types of tasks we're bringing together into a single view. You can see in this list, I've got incidents, I've got problems, I've got change records, I've got change tasks. I might also have project tasks or audit tasks. Anything else that I might be assigned and working on, I can view in a consolidated work queue, organized by priority or perhaps by service level. And these views are configurable to further reflect my own preferences and my own use of the data. So if I decide that this particular gauge is not very helpful for me, I can easily remove it from my dashboard. And I can add additional content that supports the way that I like to work. We fundamentally believe that the best people to configure these dashboards and these reports are the people that are actually using the data. You know how you want to see the data. You know how you need to see the data to support your own work function. So in this case, perhaps I add another gauge here related to incidents because this is a service desk dashboard. And maybe I'll add one that says My Open Incidents by Assignment. ServiceNow gives you a quick snapshot of the graph, what it's going to look like, and I can place it anywhere I'd like on this dashboard. Perhaps in this case, I'll place it on the center right. Now I've got that exact gauge showing up on my dashboard, and notice that the dashboard actually becomes my Service Desk home dashboard. It could just as easily be Alex's Service Desk home dashboard because it is a copy, my own copy of that original dashboard. So now it reflects another piece of information or another graph that provides information to help support my job function. This data is live up to the last refresh. In this case, it's refreshing every 5 minutes, which means if I want to drill into one of these bars or a particular area of a report, I can see the data behind the bar. So in this case, I see all of the incidents that are related to that bar in the view. This view sort of looks like an Excel spreadsheet. And what we find in speaking with customers is that so many of our customers and organizations that are considering ServiceNow manage so much of their process, so much of their reporting within spreadsheets. And so we provide a tabular view of data, in this case the list view, that behaves very similarly to a spreadsheet. So I can do my data analysis in a way that I'm very familiar with. I can look at large pieces of data in a single view And I can interact with the data in very much the same way I would as a spreadsheet. If I wanted to filter out certain pieces of data, I right-click and I can filter out. If I want to add additional columns to this or sort on the data, it's very easy to add in an additional column, perhaps a location for the user. And I can position that wherever I like, perhaps right after the caller column. If I want to export this information, I can right-click on the header and I can say export, and I can export it into an Excel spreadsheet or a PDF or a landscape so that I can print it out. But in fact, the data in this view is live. So whereas in the past I might be exporting data into an Excel spreadsheet for my analysis and for my reporting, and then only having really that static copy of the data, in this case we've got a live copy of the data that I can interact with, and I can even do things like assign or change fields right from within this view. So if I wanted to perhaps reassign one of these incidents, it's a simple click, and I can add an assign to field here, and I can update right from within this list. So let me just pick one here. Maybe I reassign this one to best. So without having to drop into the individual incident, I can interact just like I would in a spreadsheet. And I can even report from here. So our reporting capability is built into the tool. And again, it's not a separate piece of technology, as Michael mentioned, that we acquired. It's actually something that we developed from the ground up. From here, with the right click on the column header, I can drop into the reporting tool, and I can look at the data in the same kinds of ways that I would in a spreadsheet. In other words, I can look at bar charts and pie charts and pivot tables and list views and trend charts, all those individual kinds of things. I can save this report for my own reference or make it available to others. I can essentially report on any piece of information from the ServiceNow single consolidated system of record. So if I want to report on incidents, I can report from the incident table. And look, we name them. We name the table incident. If I wanted to report on change records instead, I can report on changes, and that table is actually called changes. So we'll make it very, very easy to get at the data from this single repository. And then configuring your filters and your sorting and your order is really the exact same way that you would work on your iTunes playlist. It's very, very friendly, very user-friendly, and it's just configuring a series of drop-downs that define the and or criteria that you're going to apply to the view. Last but not least, related to reporting, very quickly here, I'll mention that you can publish this out if I want to make the report available to others. I can publish it. I'll get a URL that I can put on a portal. If I like, I can schedule it to run on a periodic basis, be sent out by email. Or if I like, I can add it to my homepage. If I feel like I've got the report in a way that makes sense, let me just make a few tweaks to it. Maybe I'll make it just a little bit smaller, conserve real estate. Save it one more time, and then from here I can add it to my homepage. So again, bringing it back to the initial view, the homepage view that I had. There's my service desk home. I can add it to where I like on the homepage, and now I've got the report that I just created from that tabular data available on my homepage. It's a live report, and I can interact with it just like I did in this previous gauge. Last thing I'll show just very quickly, give you an indication of the single system of record, is the fact that we do have full text search across the entire application, which means if I search for something like email from the global text search, I will get visibility into every single record, that is every single application built on the platform that contains this keyword of email. So I can see all the incidents that have email there. I can also see all the change records that have email included, all the problems, all the knowledge base articles, or maybe catalog items that are included within that, or that have email included within one of their text fields. So that's the first vector of transformation, this consolidated view into all this kind of information, all this information related to everything that IT is managing and everything that IT is doing. Let's switch gears a moment and have a look at the second area, which is in effect using self-service to empower end users. What we see here is our SelfService Portal. This is the view that non-IT users get when they access ServiceNow. So it's not it's distilled down. It's not technical. It's designed to look like the kind of technology that end users are using in their personal lives. From here, they can order things, they can search a knowledge base, they can get help. This order things is an interface into the service catalog. So if Joe employee wants to place an order for really anything that IT provides, he gets a very familiar interface. In fact, an Amazon.com inspired interface that gives him a shopping cart that he can fill with the kinds of goods and services that he might want to order. In this case, you can see an iPhone 4 will provide some information about the device, maybe some information about how IT supports the device, and we essentially let Joe, the end user, add it to his cart or go ahead and order it right from this interface. So whether Joe's ordering a new iPhone or a new application, or maybe putting in a request for some business cards or a name badge, all of this can be done through this self-service portal. And we're going to touch on the last leg of the triangle, the automation, in just a minute, but keep in mind that, in the back of your mind, that there's a workflow behind each one of these items. So the approval step and the fulfillment and the final distribution, completion of the fulfillment of this device is going to be driven through a workflow. And Joe, as the end user, gets a summary of that workflow. So he can always come in and see where is that particular order in the workflow. In this case, it's waiting for some approval, and then it's going to go to a department head approval, and there's going to be some fulfillment and deployment. He can see exactly what step in the process this device is currently at. Incidentally, if I'm Joe's boss, who happens to be logged in on an iPad, I can approve the purchase of this device. I can look at the approvals using my mobile device. As Michael mentioned, we have mobile interfaces for ServiceNow that give you access to the full functionality of the application, whether you're using really any kind of mobile device. What we're looking at right now is the iPad interface to ServiceNow, which is new in our Calgary release, and it gives iPad users a native look and feel to all of the applications within ServiceNow. So if I'm Joe employee's manager, I can come in, I can have a look at the particular item that Joe has requested. Right from here, I can approve the order, and now you can see it's moved into approval state, and Joe's order will continue down that path from the workflow. So also from this view, Joe can search the knowledge base. There's an integrated full knowledge management system that Joe can use to search. If Joe wants to look at articles related to Outlook, for instance, he can do a quick search and have a look at knowledge base articles that might be technical in nature or might not be. But that gives Joe the ability to find the information that Joe needs to maybe solve his own problem or try to solve his own problem. Even provide some feedback if Joe wants to give some feedback, something like step number 8 is not working. You can provide that right within here and help close the loop on the knowledge. Finally, the last area that we'll talk about in this self-service view is the ability to get help. With a click, Joe can begin the incident management process. Only Joe doesn't talk about incidents and problems changes. Joe just thinks that something is broken. So from here, he can click in and begin to enter the kind of information that the service desk needs to troubleshoot the process. So what application is unavailable? This is coming right from our service catalog. When did the outage begin? Joe can enter a particular date and time. If there's an error message, we can prompt for some more information. Joe can submit this incident, and he gets some confirmation that it's been submitted, and Joe can always come back and ask for updates right through the self-service portal. He can resolve the incident if he figures out what was wrong. And he always has the ability to look at the history of his open orders and the incidents that Joe may have submitted over the last week, month, or year, etc. Now, as I mentioned This is the base view into the service catalog, the base view into employee self-service, which is the second leg of the transformation stool, or the second vector of transformation that our customers are experiencing. I say it that way because all of our customers are looking at, or have already done, some configuration of this self-service portal to provide a consistent look and feel, a look and feel that's consistent with their corporate brand. So if you look at some examples here really quickly, this is Brigham Young University, it's a great customer of ours. They've configured that self-service portal to reflect their own colors and fonts, their own university brand. This is all configuration within the ServiceNow portal. American Express looks like the American Express website, but it actually is how their end users get help from IT. All of these are configurations that our customers have placed on top of their ServiceNow instance. It's all sort of drag and drop, point and click configuration, and they don't need to have web developers or super experienced designers to be able to create these nice interfaces for their end users. So here's Netflix, just some other examples. Nike, very athletic, very modern look and feel. But all of our customers are doing this to their self-service portal to make it that much more attractive, that much easier to use. I will mention that we do have as well a capability called Live Feed. This is one of the social IT applications that we have. This provides a Facebook kind of look and feel, or a LinkedIn news look and feel. It gives our customers a collaboration stream where they can interact with each other, and users can interact with each other in near real time. So if they wanted to discuss projects or critical incidents, they can have a near real time, an ad hoc discussion about a record, an incident, a project, or maybe just what's for lunch. And lastly, from the self-service portal, we do have integrated chat. With a click, I can open up a chat window, and as Joe employee may want to do, he can begin a chat with the service desk. In fact, this opens up a chat queue on the service desk side where somebody that's part of that queue can interact in real time with Joe employee. So again, this is bringing the kind of look and feel, the kinds of capabilities that end users are used to using in their personal lives to their interactions with corporate IT or with enterprise IT. So the last vector of transformation, the last area that I really want to touch on as part of this demonstration, and hopefully we're beginning to pique your interest here because we haven't gone too deep into any one area, but the last area is really in the area of automation, and we see this being driven by our workflow engine. This is a workflow engine that's configured graphically, and this is how all of our customers are beginning to automate process and then moving beyond process into their own data center. So if I look at that service catalog item that we had requested earlier, that iPhone that Joe employee had ordered, I showed you the summary of the workflow. This is the actual workflow behind that request item. So you can see that this is configured in a graphical way. It looks a lot like Visio, except for this actually does something. It actually implements the process within ServiceNow. And as an admin, I can check out a copy of this service catalog item request workflow. I can make changes right within this view. I can drag and drop activities from a palette. Maybe I want to drag in a new approval step. I can drag it right onto the canvas here. I can put some configuration in to reflect what exactly this approval step pertains to. In this case, maybe it's an approval by the individual's manager. I can select who that person is, and I don't even really have to know the individual because this is dynamic. So pulling from data within our single system of record, I could say, just make this approved by the manager of the person opening this request. So I need to understand the process, but I don't need to understand all those individual people within the system because that's contained within the system of record. I submit the step here, maybe redraw one of these lines to reflect the notification path, the rejection path. And when I'm all done, I click publish, and now this becomes the new workflow. So using this workflow engine is the way that we begin automation within ServiceNow. By dragging and dropping these different tasks, we automate process. And you can see down here, these runbook steps are where we actually extend that automation into our customers' data centers. So doing things like resetting passwords or creating Active Directory users or provisioning virtual machines, configuring virtual machines with VMware or Amazon EC2 is all possible as an extension of this workflow driven by self-service and automated in a graphical way. So I know this is not a lot of time. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of introduction into the ServiceNow technology, gives you a little bit of a feel for just how intuitive it is, how familiar it is for people that are used to using cloud-based technologies in their personal lives, and how we provide really these three areas of transformation: consolidation, self-service, and automation. I do want to thank everyone for joining today at time, so thank you very much.